I watched a military ceremony in Belgium in Ypres under the Menin Gate, and it was the New Zealanders' part, and whatever, the last post every night at 8 o'clock. Yeah. And the New Zealand troops marched in to the Menin Gate singing a Maori war song. Mm-hmm. So all these white guys, and there were some Maoris in, but most of them were white. They were singing a Maori, and it was they were military, and they were singing a Maori song. And I thought, why don't we do that in Canada? What did the New Zealanders, how did they get to that point where it's inconceivable that the Princess Patricia's Canadian Light Infantry would march down whatever Montreal Avenue singing an Algonquin
with a
song.
drum and
with
a
a
war
drum.
song.
So what would it take? How do we do that?
It's a decision. It's a choice.
Well, come on.
It's a cultural choice. I think in New Zealand, the thing that they have going for them is they're an island. And the Maori language is a unified language. There's dialects, but it's one language. Canada is this vast land base with disparate Indigenous communities. Like in British Columbia, there's 36 or 38 languages. Within them, there's also sub-dialects and sub-languages. And so, I remember when I first was here, there was somebody in the government said, "Oh, you know what we should teach Cree in all the high schools." Really? You're going to teach Cree to Haidas? You're going to teach Cree to the Mi'kmaq? Like, it's so that's how people who don't understand think, right? It's so many. Like, which war song are you going to sing?
We shouldn't let that stop us from the impulse. How do we pull you said it yourself, hearing the sounds of the original languages actually brings something back into us.
Listen, I'm not opposed to it, but like, I would rather maybe, certainly we could sing a war song, but like, I would rather a healing song.
Yeah.
I would rather a song that brought us together. And you do have, I think you see that more and more, that there are movements towards that kind of thing, the involvement and the recognition of Indigenous veterans, for example, having their own day and that kind of thing. So there's baby steps towards that kind of thing. But I think, again, to go back to the New Zealand example, it's just, and it's not utopic, right? Like, they still have a lot of challenges, and in other ways, in some ways we are farther along in some aspects than they are. They're farther along in other aspects, right? I mean, but they're a culture that has given human rights to a river. Like, that is a very Indigenous concept, to a mountain, right? That they have the same intrinsic rights as a human being because they understand the relationship. Yep. Like, that's where we need to get to, that kind of cultural shift where we don't see the land as just something that is a resource for us to extract, but something that we're related to.
Do you think it's happening? Do you think it's happening at all?
Yeah, I think that there are for sure, there are real lefty, artsy Canadians who are leaning towards that mentality. I think that overall, though, I think the culture is still very much, materialistic. I mean, we are an economy that is resource extraction based. We have services, we're a G8 country, but like, primarily we extract oil and timber and minerals and we ship them overseas to be refined by other people. That's primarily the function and the origin of Canada. First it was pelts, right? Then it was timber, then gold, and so on and so forth. So I think that is embedded in the structural DNA of this country. And until we sort of begin to reverse that and see ourselves as related to the land as human beings, any of this stuff will change. The climate change issue, all of these environmental problems we are facing are fundamentally, I think, a cultural construct, a cultural mindset where we just need to profit for the most efficiently available means of profiteering. And typically that means extracting resources, selling it for dirt cheap as quickly and as rapidly. And
you want us all to have a lower standard of living?
No.
What's your problem, man?
I want us to tie our standard of living to the land, to the health of the land, to like the health and our relationship to the land. You can have a high standard of living if you're tied and connected to the places where you exist.